Good evening, everyone. This is Dwayne Fernandez from ReadScoops.com, and today we have a very special interview lined up for you guys. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. This is Dwayne Fernandez from ReadScoops.com, and today we have a very special interview lined up for you guys. We have a chat with Michael Carberry from England, who had a long and illustrious domestic career, and because of illnesses and other circumstances, he didn't have the longest international careers, but here he is today. I hope you guys enjoy this. Hello.
Hello, sir. How are you?
All good, all good. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad.
Thanks a lot. You can hear me well?
Yeah. All good. All
Right,
good.
right. Okay. Yeah, just thanks for talking to us, and I will begin. Did you have a chance to go through the questions that I sent you?
Yeah. I had a brief look at them. Yeah, because I was doing another podcast as well. So
Okay.
yeah, I had a quick scan through them. But yeah, it's pretty standard. Yeah, standardized.
No, okay. Yeah, I mean, like, feel free to add anything that you would want to add towards the end or in between whenever you feel like. Right?
Yeah, sure.
How's the lockdown situation where you are?
It's a bit confusing, I'll be honest. Our Prime Minister has talked about relaxing certain measures in terms of we're allowed to spend a bit more time in the parks and at the beach,
Right.
but still got to be at a distance. Certain industries are allowed back to work, but it's not really safe, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
I personally chosen not to keep isolated until there's at least there's better measures in place, and certainly we're nearer a cure than
Right.
what we are at the moment, because the death rate, not the death rates, the cases are
The
still
cases.
going up by we're near 36,000 at the moment, so it's still not coming down sufficiently.
Yeah, I think it's the same situation here in Mumbai, and we're looking at easing off the lockdown, which is not the best solution right now, but I think that's just
Yeah,
what.
it's not. Yeah, because they're thinking economy, right? And it's
Yeah,
probably
yeah. I mean,
same
it's not
same.
logical, but I don't know how we're gonna do this. Tough times.
Yeah, look, I've said, to friends and that, look, I understand people's frustration now, because we've certainly for us, we've been locked down for nearly 2.5 months now.
Mm-hmm.
So I understand that, particularly my friends who have little kids, and they're driving them crazy at the moment. I understand, but it's got to be, as I say to people, look, we are in the safest place we can be right now, where it's in our own homes with all our creature comforts, and we're away from this terrible virus. So if we can somehow put our frustrations aside for 1 minute and just think about things logically, it's to go back out there, with no cure.
Yeah.
You're putting yourself at high risk. So
Yeah, true. Right. Okay. So let's begin. I'll just read through some of the questions that I had. Yeah. So I want to begin all the way back to when you started playing. So what would you say are the earliest memories that you have in cricket?
Well, it started really for my dad. He was a club cricketer when he came over from Guyana in the sort of mid 50s, and he did some work on the railways and buses and that kind of stuff. And he used to have his mates who used to go and drinking at a pub sort of in South London where I grew up, and they formed a cricket club. We didn't have a ground, but it formed a sort of wandering team that would go around and play other teams. And it's still going strong to this day. So that's really where I suppose my first initial invite into cricket started. Really was just
Mhm.
going to watch my dad, and then the guys at the club would be throwing me balls as a toddler, as young as like 3 and 4. It's the first time I
Mhm.
probably had a bat in my hand. And if I didn't have a bat in my hand, then it would be around the house. I'd be throwing balls against mum's cupboards, and hitting the ball round the kitchen and through her legs and stuff like that. So it was always, I was very lucky that my mum also a keen cricket fan as well. So
Mhm.
to have both parents
Supportive.
love the game,
Right.
yeah, support the game, love the game. We had an unbelievable collection of cricket tapes. My dad used to tape test matches, and anytime West Indies were playing, we had the biggest collection of cricket tapes I can show you. Yeah. So I was always, so even at that early age, you were sitting down just watching, studying the greats
Right.
of that era. So yeah, from very early on, I came from really a cricket household.
Okay. And like you've already said that your family was pretty supportive. So who else would you say, just people or cricketers who have helped you, who have supported your career early on, who have helped shape your career over the years?
Yeah, there's been. In 20 years as a pro alone, there's so many people. And then you sort of add the 10 years before you became pro. There names that not necessarily famous names, but one gentleman in particular who's no longer with us was a great friend of mine, Tony Leslie, who was an avid supporter of my career. And Tony did a lot of great work for the local communities, black community in particular, around sort of Lambeth area, which wasn't too far away from where I grew up. And he was just a great supporter of my career. I mentioned the guys at Castletonians Cricket Club, where my dad's one of the founders. A lot of the old guys, sadly, again, are no longer with us. But over the course of my career and watching me grow up through the ranks, so to speak, were always very, very supportive of anything I did. And when I started to play professionally, they were always there in my corner. So yeah, and then once I got into the professional game, guys like Alex Tudor, were, I suppose, took me under his wing, because I didn't really understand professional cricket at the time,
Right.
and what was required. So it was great. And again, Alex was someone who played at Castletonians with me as well, and his brother. So, it was great to have that sort of inspirational figure of someone that I played with once upon a time every
Hmm.
Sunday, and now has gone on and he's playing in the Ashes in '98, knocking over the Australians. So it was, for me, it was having that sort of inspirational figure was great. And then my first real professional coaches, someone like Alan Butcher, who was father of Mark Butcher,
Okay.
still now has become a lifelong friend and someone who really helped me in my development stages. Was also my first left-handed coach I ever had, so that was
Okay.
it was a special bond there as well. And Alan really helped teach me the sort of fundamentals which led on to me having a successful career.
Hmm. Yeah, and talking about your career, obviously, like you had an extremely long career, like almost 2 decades, if I'm not wrong. And if you had to pick one moment or one innings or one day which you could call as the most special moment, which would you pick?
Ah, there's been 20-year career. You've played a few.
There's been a lot, yeah.
um, I think the ones that stand out for me was, I suppose, any time. I mean, say I've had some great highs in the game. Obviously, had some very low points in the game. Times where the game, I didn't look like I'd be able to play again, or my life was even in threat. So I think on both occasions where it looked as though, my life was in danger and my back was against the wall, to be able to come back, redefine yourself as an athlete and as a person, and come back a better version as a player. I think those are the innings for me that stand out. So I suppose the noticeable one is the 300 not out I got on return from my lung illness in 2010. That was quite significant in telling me whether really I still had the fitness levels left to.
Did you think that before the game? Did you think that was possible, fitness wise?
I guess you never really know, to be honest. I mean, in the build up to that, I mean, I've been training really, really hard. I mean, trying to, obviously I had to remodel everything. I had to remodel the way I trained, the way, I had to try and shed some muscle bulk. I was quite a lot bigger guy in terms of muscle and weight. So I tried to, shed some of that by doing more running. But also my lungs weren't in the best shape. So I had to kind of modify the way I did things and those kind of things to try and get in some condition to be able to play. So really, to answer your question, I really didn't know crossing the right road what was going to happen. It was just purely going on experience. I mean, I made loads of hundreds before, made double hundreds before, but nothing on that scale. So that was at the end of that knock 2 days later, or whenever it was, it said to me that, well, at least I know that I can still have a career. Maybe playing international cricket may be far away in the distance, but at least I know that I still got what it takes to make runs at this level.
Right. Yeah. And like I was going to this up later on, but now that you mention it, like you've had not just one illnesses, you've had a couple of really career-threatening, life-threatening illnesses, and you still managed to bounce back from it and play at the highest level. So, like, tell us how you can, how do you fight back from such lows in your career? Because it's very easy to put your hands up and say, like, why me? Because what did I do to deserve this? But how were you able to pick yourself up physically and more importantly mentally in such a situation and still fight for the rest of your career?
Good question. I mean, the first thing, I don't think there's unfortunately there's no manuscript to tell you how to deal with life and things that happen in your life. I think, fortunate for me, I think my mum is someone very close to me and very dear to me, and I guess I've always followed her example in terms of how she's able to push through a lot of adversity in her life. She hasn't had the easiest life, but to give her son the best quality of life, she was always someone who promoted to me hard work. You've got to work hard for what you want, and that hard work never stops. Even when success is coming, you've got to work even harder to maintain it. So when disappointments happen, she's always instilled to me, you've got to keep faith in yourself all the time, and stay present. I think why young people today maybe don't deal with the ebbs and flows of things so much nowadays is because I think they're not able to stay present in what's happening right now and deal with the things that they can control. They're worrying about things that haven't happened. So they're thinking, oh my God, this is terrible. This is going to happen, and it hasn't happened yet. So when I got the news, first of all in 2010, that I had problems with my lung. When I had problems with my lung, although it was really, really disappointing, having just played my test debut. For me, there was no sense in worrying about returning to play. What shape will I be in? All these things. It was really about, look, this is threatening my life. I was basically a walking heart attack waiting to happen. I just need to focus on what the doctors are telling me right now. and do what they ask. So if there was any scans or be on this medication, that medication, I just had to do that. So, and then just worry about whatever happens next when it happens, you know. So I think staying present is key. And then I suppose it boils down to your will to succeed. You know, on return, it was, you know, I always had that burning desire to be successful. So, you know, and learning, and, you know, pushing through adversity in my life was nothing new to me. You know, I grew up as a black child in a pretty much an all white sport. So there were issues that from a very young, I had to learn to overcome a lot of ignorance, adversity, even in those times. So now that you're a fully fledged man, you know, you're able to call on those experiences and just learn to push through. But I think, you know, it's keeping that belief is the important bit, that you look, things will, you know, nothing lasts forever, even bad luck, you know?
Right. Yeah. And yeah, like you said that there was a lot of adversity. I've read a few interviews where you mentioned that there was a lot of racism and other issues also growing up. So obviously you battle them well, but do you think that these kind of things are still prevalent? And if yes, then how do today's youth deal with such similar issues?
Well, yeah, unfortunately, yeah, in the year 2020, we are still dealing with issues, not just in cricket. You're hearing about issues in other sports. You know, football. You know, Premiership footballers have been abused from the stands. Look, it really boils down to a lack of ignorance. It boils down to ignorance, as I say. It's just blatant ignorance on certain people's part. But unfortunately, some of these people are very much embedded in the infrastructure of a sport. So they're your selectors, they're your coaches, they're your teammates in some regards. I think my message to young people, young parents who've got children who are going into sport, you know, I think the important thing is, if you have a child of a different background, is to make them, you know, is to really make sure your child is fully educated on their background, where they're from, and make them proud of who they are. You know, just not to see it as a hindrance, but see it as they're unique. You know, and it's a chance to do something very, very special. I, for one, when I played the game, I was always of the viewpoint that, look, the ball is red, the stumps are wooden, the pitch is grass. If you're good at the game, you're good at the game. It has no bearing on what color of my skin, but unfortunately, these are human-made rules, and there's nothing you can do. You know, if someone takes a dislike to you, unfortunately, there's nothing you can do. What you can only do what you can control. So when I coach kids and they ask me things similar to you about, you know, how do you deal with these issues and stuff, and I said, look, all you can do is control the things you can, which is your performance as much as you can. You can control your attitude as much as you can. It's all the little 1% things that go into making the big performance. You know, you can't guarantee. I can't tell you you're going to go out there and make runs or take wickets, but you can make sure you're fit enough. You can make sure you're on time for things. You can make sure that you give these people no opportunity to, you know, to put you in that box or
do best what's in your control, basically.
Yeah, and that's as much as you can do, isn't it? You know, you can't control. Like, I can't control whether someone likes me or not. That's out of my control. So there's no point spending the time worrying about that. It's once I've got my bat in my hand and I'm out there in the middle, I can't even control how many runs I'll get on a day. You know, what I can control is my attitude to what's in front of me. So it's me versus the bowler. It's how I react to the consequences. Was I well prepared for the match? You know, am I fit enough to do my job? You know, am I organised with my time? You know, all these little things. They're 1% things that won't be seen off. You know, they won't be seen off cameras. You know.
True.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. I think my internet's been a little sketchy today. I'm not sure why. Yeah, I'm so sorry.
It's all the kids playing Xbox, man. That's why.
Yeah. Yeah, so sorry for that interruption. If that happens again, please bear with me for a little bit, and I'll try to get it up as soon as possible again.
Yeah, sure.
Right. So, Michael, you were talking about like adversities, and I mean, you're a person who's fought back everything in life. You fought back you these issues growing up. You fought back illnesses, and uh, and you've always managed to make a comeback. It's not like you've not. So when I look at Michael Carberry, a unique cricketer, a cricketer who I liked watching bat, but when I look at it, I still see like, okay, just 6 tests and 6 ODIs to his name. So apart from illness, what would you say is the main reason that you didn't have an extended career, international career? Because I mean, you've had like 200 plus first class games, so it's not like
Mm.
you didn't have time. You had a lot of time apart from illness also. So what would you say is the main reason or reasons that you didn't have a longer international career?
I think there's a variety of reasons. I think, first of all, I think there was the political reasons. That tour I went on to Australia 2013-14 was well
Mhm.
documented for the problems that we had within the team. I think I was someone who walked into an environment that I was a little bit naive to, even though I'd been around professional cricket a long time, but I hadn't been around the international circuit very, very long or very much. And understanding that it's a very selfish environment.
Mhm.
Um, it's not my way naturally. I've always been a team player and look out for people and make sure that generally people are okay. It wasn't so much the case in that England set up at the time. You were very much, if you weren't part of the big cliques in the dressing room, you were very much on your own. So I guess it was understanding the structure of the team and how this thing works. So who's the main boys in this team that run the team and are influential in this team. I think also when it all finished as well, there was obviously beef between the ECB and Kevin Peterson at the
Right.
time, which they tried to involve my name in, but I wasn't prepared to go and mudsling with
Right.
the ECB. I think that was another cross against my name. When asked about my jettison from the team, a journalist back in England was same like you, was asking the same questions. How can a man who finished second top run scorer not be picked? Like this is crazy. And I told them flat. I said, look, I've had no conversations with the selectors. They've just gone ahead and picked a different team.
Right.
So that kind of incensed the selectors, believe it or not. The joke of it, they then suddenly picked up the phone to ring me to tell me that, well, you could have rung us to find out what was. And I said to them, well, in my opinion, that's not the way it works in life. If you employ me and I turn up for work on Monday or Tuesday and someone is sitting at my desk
Right.
and you haven't had a reason, then it's not my position to go to the employer and go, what's going on?
Right.
You'd think out of respect, the selectors would have said to me, look, Carbs, this is the situation. We're going with younger people, whatever. I mean, in the end, it transpired from the conversations that suddenly my age was a factor,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I've suddenly dramatically aged from 33 to 34 in a matter of months.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, so it wasn't a factor when I was picked at 34, but being dropped at 34 now, age is a factor. So
Mm-hmm.
you do the math,
Right.
and I guess because I didn't take the reasons, I kept asking more questions because look, at
Right.
that age, I feel I'm deserving of more reasons, and because of how the tour went, where I was one of few batsmen to actually stand up in that series. So I would like to know, if you're going to drop me, what are the absolute reasons you're dropping me for? Don't just tell me it's my age, because I know I won't say the word on live TV, but it's not the reason you're telling me, right? So I believe that my face never really fitted in that setup because I would happily tell certain individuals who I felt were trying to humiliate me at times, because that was kind of the way things were back then in that setup with the people that were around. You know, I would kindly tell them where to jump. And I think I wasn't someone to just take abuse even within my own team and take it lying down. I don't feel I have to, based on the story I'm telling you before about, you know, the things I've had to fight through to get here and overcome in my life. You know, why do I need to take abuse or humiliation from anybody? I don't need to do that. I've worked my way in this team, probably more so than anyone else, because I spent so long trying to get in. So, you know, I'm 34 years old. I'm my own man. I don't need to do that. So, so I think, and then, you know, look, I'm also my harshest critic as well. You know, I showed, you know, I played well. You know, I played well for certain periods of time. You know, get to 30s and 40s and wasn't able to really push on and get the big score. So that didn't probably help my case in terms of it left the door open for them to pick someone else. So I'm honest enough to look at my performance and go, well, 100, certainly 100 out of one of those starts may have changed, may have swayed things for another few test matches, possibly. But overall, I still believe that, yeah, I should have been given an extended run, on the basis that, you know, what I'm seeing now. I mean, you know, young players now getting 30, you know, 20 and 30 test matches run, and I got 6, and I'm thinking, hang on a minute, you know, I faced much tougher bowling than that, you know, but, you know, it is what it is. Maybe, you know,
I'm saying, do you think that if you had to back down and not ask as many questions, do you think that the position would have been slightly different?
Possibly.
But that wasn't an option, obviously.
I don't. You'll find anyone you speak to about me, they'll say, right, what's the one thing you know about Carbs? And he'll tell you very, very straight, and he's his own man, right? He's not a yes man. It's not where I grew up. It's not how I was raised. And look, I accept the consequences that come with that. Is you know, the business we're in, which is cricket, to some degree in certain organizations, and certainly the one that I was involved in for numerous years, it's a communism, right? It's not a democracy. All right. So if you want freedom of speech, they boot you out. Simple as that, right? It's held against you. It's a very grudgeful setup. If you speak out, even though what you're saying to people is constructive, you know, so I'm not just talking for the sake of talking. I'm telling them stuff that I'm seeing happening now, for example, you know, like giving opening batsmen a longer run, for example. They're doing it now, you know. Not just picking people like me and guys that followed me for 4 and 5 test matches. You know, you're giving them, you know, 20 and 30 test matches to try and establish themselves. That's the stuff that I was talking about to the selectors. Look, fine, if I'm too old at 34 to play, fine, no problem. But what I want to see now is younger men than me getting the opportunity that maybe I didn't get, you know, because I'm very passionate about opening the batting. It's what I did. It was what I did in the team. So I want to see the same treatment that number 4, 5 and 6 get. I want to see the openers getting the same length of rope. You know, seeing that it's the hardest place in the team to bat.
All right. So do you think, like, apart from so the treatment that you got, maybe not a longer run, the other obstacles that you face, do you think that this is still prevalent in England cricket right now? I mean, obviously they are giving people longer runs, as you said, but any other issues that you face, is that still prevalent in the setup, or is it got better over the years?
I'll be honest. I don't think these things ever go away. You'll always find some selector, some coach, someone of higher standing who's got an axe to grind personally against certain types of people from certain types of backgrounds I would love to sit here and say, yeah, in the year 2020, that, you know, everything's racism free. You know, a black man, an Asian man, a white man will be picked wholly and solely on their talent and performance. It's just not the way. It never has been. Probably when I'm long dead and gone, it probably still be the same. Unfortunately, sport and think establishments like sport are very much, I suppose, who you know, what you know, who likes you, who doesn't. You need those little, I suppose, elements of luck for someone to, you know, give you that backing from time to time, in order to have a career. And that's why I say to young players now that, look, these are you can't set your mind to worry about things that you can't control. You know, you can only control things within your powers. So, as I say, you know, if the meeting's at 9 o'clock, make sure you're there at 10:02. You know, make sure you're wearing the right kit. Make sure your kit is organised. Make sure you're ready to play all the time. You show good attitude at training. You're always willing to do a little bit more than the average. You know, little things that are not in the coaching manual, so to speak. You know, they're not in the coaching manual, because when you are from that different background, you are judged differently. It's sad to say, but you are, and it's always been the way. So I think the key to it is just not giving people an excuse to use those factors against you, other than your performance.
Right, and I think this is something that happens everywhere, even outside cricket. You don't want to give anyone.
It happens in exactly. It happens in all walks of life, man. It happens. You know, that's why they call it politics. You know, it happens there. It happens in business. It happens. You know, you think there's the gender, you know, there's the gender problems as well. You know, gender equality problems. You know, there's always someone within infrastructure that has an axe to grind with something. You know, it's sad that we're still talking about these issues, but what can we do as the athletes? What can we do other than just go and try and do our best, and that's it.
Right, and so talking about these England cricket. So if there was something that like, I don't want any controversial answers. I just think that if there was something that you could change today about England cricket, about the England Cricket Board, what would that be?
About the England Cricket Board, where do I start? I mean, look, we touched upon one. I think it's, you know, I think just judging people on their ability, not necessarily their background, and trying to battery hen people. I think that's the other thing. You know, everybody's different. You know, I touched upon it before about, you know, someone like a personality like a Kevin Peterson, who came from a different background in South Africa, you know, came over here to make it and became one of the best players of our generation. You know, but is understanding the dynamics of Kevin as a person. I'm someone who, again, came from a different background, so, and has seen a lot of things in my life as well. And my fight was like Kevin's as well. It's that fighting adversity, kicking down hurdles. So you got to understand people like us. We are different. We didn't come from the sort of private school sector or come from rich backgrounds, which a lot of cricketers do. So it's a different mindset, and we see the world differently. And I would urge, it's education. It's that word education for me, right? Is developing a deeper understanding of us as people. You know, not going on stereotype and what you think you know. You know, is actually sitting down with the individual and getting to know them on a personal level. These are things, you know, I know they're trying all these character testing procedures now that have been brought in the game through psychology, but I just don't think those things really can tap into the things that I've seen, people like Kevin have seen, and there's been many other players who've gone through similar things, right? You've got to understand as people. You only get to know us as people by it's developing that relationship over time, you know.
Right. So, and I want to come back to your debut. Not your debut. I mean, you're playing for England at the Ashes, and I can't imagine like what it would be to be out there in the middle, opening the batting for England in an Ashes Test match. I think that's what you dream of as a kid. So, if you had to put it in words, how would you describe that experience?
Well, I mean, it was, for me, it was something I worked 14, 15 years towards as a pro. When you start your journey as a cricketer, I mean, you're sitting as that 19-year-old, and you hope one day you'll be able to say you've played for cricket at any level, far less the Ashes. And for me, the call was, when I got there in 2014, was, I suppose, like a little bit unexpected. I mean, not many guys start their career at 34 years old. I had a taste of it back in 2010, but so I thought those 4 years of me being in the wilderness, really my time had gone. So I diverted my attention to white ball cricket. I'd accepted a contract with Perth Scorchers that same summer, that same season for the winter. Mm-hmm. And I was really sort of looking towards that, and potentially IPL. I think I got round in one of the IPL drafts, but didn't quite make one of the teams. So really, that was where I was heading. So I still had a decent-ish decent first-class season. I got a couple of hundreds, but really, I was excelling in the T20 and white ball. And so yeah, it was a pleasant surprise when I got the news that I'd be on the trip to Australia. But having said that, I mean, I was excited, because even having those years in the wilderness out of Test cricket, I'm pleased that I still kept my standards of training and performance still very high. I still trained as a Test cricketer. I didn't train as your run-of-the-mill first-class cricketer. I didn't, it's never been in my DNA. I've always tried to train levels above my actual talent. So it wasn't a, so when I went out there, I felt as ready as I can be. I didn't have the advantage of having loads of Test match experience behind me. I only played the one.
Right.
So I guess it helped me in a lot of ways, because I didn't have the baggage of maybe certain other players. It was just another cricket match for me. So I just wanted to go out there and do my best. And
not nervous and anything?
Yeah, obviously you're not human. You're not human if you're not nervous, man. I mean, it's the Ashes, buddy. Everything from the time you're picked. I mean, my life changed. In that small passage of time. Suddenly there was more. I walked to my local coffee shop, and I'm getting stopped in the street, and everyone wants to shake my hand and congratulate me, and these kind of things. People at Hampshire were so chuffed for me, because they know that how hard I'd worked over many years, and that was always my dream to play for England, and my family, obviously, that kind of stuff. So it was a massive moment. So boarding the plane, putting on the suit to board the plane for Australia, it was I mean, you're getting a dry mouth just thinking about it. It was just the build up and the press, and you're walking into the unknown, really. I didn't realise how big it was until really I landed in Australia, because it wasn't just the English media now, it was the Australian media. They want to know who's this guy replacing the great Andrew Stroud. Is he up for it? Is he, we don't know much about him. He's been around for ages, 34, what's going on?
And were they easy on you, or were they, because I've heard that the Australian media can be quite ruthless at times. So how were they on you?
Depends what you call easy. I mean, yeah, look, I think there were some of the press interviews, I think, were a little bit looking back, they were a little bit pointless, because again, I had no Test match experience. So especially after the first Test match, where we had a batting collapse, and coincidentally we lost the Test match. Right. I was shoved in front of the world's media to answer questions like, well, why does this keep happening? In the first Test match of a series, England seem to always collapse with the bat. And I just sat there going, why are you asking me? This is only my second Test match. I've got no data to give you. I've not been around this squad more than 10 days in total. So why are you asking me? Why are you not asking Matt Pryor and Alistair Cook, who've
Right.
played 100 Test matches, Ian Bells, these kind of guys. You know, this is why I talk about the system was very strange. It was very odd, you know, like, but that was what you were faced with. So, you know, I tried to answer the questions and just be sensible. Just say, look, I can only talk about my own performance and say I wasn't, when things kicked off, I wasn't necessarily overawed by it. I just tried to play my game to the best of what I knew. Mitchell Johnson obviously had a great Test match. He blew us away, both innings, bowled with pace and hostility. But I was pleased in the way that I played him. You know, I felt I played the situation. I tried to play to the situation. If we're, you know, 10 for 2, you know, it's very difficult for me to go out and start blazing it all around the park. I tried to, I suppose, try to play a traditional opener's innings and trying to wear him down. And maybe it wasn't the right way to go about it, but at the time I felt it was the right thing to do. So, yeah, it was a tough tour. It was a very tough tour. But I loved the challenge of it. You know, I still think about it now. Like, you know, I've sat down with Mitch since that time, and we've talked about it, about, you know, the challenge. And I said, you know, I came back from that tour and I said, you know what, nothing I do in my cricket life will ever be harder than that. Right. You know, because he tested every facet of your being out there. You know, it wasn't just a case of technique and,
right. That's,
you know,
when you know that, okay, I deserve this spot or not. If I can play Mitch Johnson, then yes.
Absolutely. Yeah, because remember, you know, he then went to South Africa and destroyed South Africa as well, you know. So, you know, he just went on a rampage for 12 months where he just, everyone in his path, he just destroyed. But so the fact that, you know, people still now 6 or 7 years on, you know, ask me, you know, what did you do? You look so comfortable against him. You played him so well. And I was like, well, geez, you know, at the time I didn't think I was, but it showed the benefit of the amount of hard work that I put in behind closed doors. You know, as I said, you know, this was something that, even though I wasn't in the fold necessarily in the England team, you know, I kept my standards of training and preparation, right, still, in the hope that one day I would get this opportunity, and I did. So I was pleased to know that my preparation was good, and it allowed me to have a good series against it.
Right. And so thinking about your career, if there was one thing that you would like to change or do differently, like all through your career, what would you pick? Maybe some move that you would have done differently, basically.
I would say the only thing I would have changed in my career was I wished I was probably a bit more naturally confident as a kid. I think and have that ability to just go out and really express how I wanted to play. You know, I think the confidence for me built over time. You know, right. So I became more confident as my career progressed, and once I felt I had a real grasp of my game, I felt confident. You know, I look at, say, like a Ben Stokes, who was a very young man on the tour I went on, and, you know, someone who just, you know, I wish I had his confidence at the same age. You know, it's like where he just said, right, I'm just going out and I'm playing the way I want to play. You know, I have a lot of admiration for someone like him. He's, you know, a very nice kid, and the way he plays.
He's personally one of my favorites as well.
Yeah, 100. Yeah, I love watching him play cricket because I love, even on that tour, you know, I loved either when he had the ball in his hand or when he went out to bat. You know, he's just fearless. He just didn't worry about the situation or what was going on around him. He just went out and played. And I think, you know, when I sat down with the Australians at the end of the series, you know, both teams had a drink together, and that was one thing I took away from my experiences of playing Test cricket, was the ability to be able to close out what's around you, and to just go out and play and just have that real belief in how you want to play. Which I've always loved attacking cricket. The players that I watched as a kid were generally the attacking players, the guys who can move the game forward at a good clip. So if I could talk to my younger self, I would have said, yeah, I wish I'd just had that natural confidence as a, even now, still as a man, yeah, even now, still as a man, I would, I'm a very introverted person. I've come out of my shell a lot as a person, but I'm genuinely an introvert. I don't go to people necessarily. I'm very quiet in my life and stuff like that. So
do you say that that confidence as a kid would have helped you get into the team a little quicker, maybe?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, because it took me some time to really, even in first class cricket, it took me some time to really understand that, the positive players are the ones who survive. The ones who can get on top of the bowling, and it's like the schoolyard bully, isn't it? Like if you don't throw back some punches, you're going to keep getting punched.
Right.
So it's that moment you break out of that and you smack him one back on his nose, that life becomes easy, leaves you alone, and then you move on. And cricket, it took me a little while, even in first class. I think really was when I moved from Surrey to Kent was where I started to realise that actually, look, I need to play a little bit more. Just show off my skills. I'm a good player. I can play.
Right.
I was an attacking youth player. I used to come out and play my shots. Just come out and play. But it's not as easy as that as a young player, because you do have that fear of failure when you first go in. You don't want to screw it up. You're not
Right.
playing alongside your heroes. Graham Thorpe and Alex Stewart and these kind of legends, Mark Butcher. You don't want to come in there and screw it up and you're off. You're out of a job within 1 or 2 years. So it does take you a little bit of time, and some people just ooze that natural. What's this young man, Ollie Pope, recently for England? And I look at someone like him and I think, wow, like so young but so confident. So yeah, I think it's a personality thing.
Yeah, I think I've asked you this, but just for the people watching this or reading this later, you've overcome a lot of hurdles. So how would you? What advice would you give someone to overcome any sort of issues in life, not just necessarily on the cricket ground, but anywhere in life, to be able to, even after you've been hit, to still survive and fight back and still achieve your goal?
Yeah. And I think the first thing is trying to have like a broader perspective of life and things, and understanding that to be good, great in anything, business, sport, whatever we turn our hand to, it takes time, and part of the success is dealing with learning to fail, so your greatest learnings come from failing.
Right.
And that is something I learned to understand, is that you have to fail to be in order to succeed, sort of thing. So, and not seeing failure as
the end, basically.
As the end product. Oh, I'm just a failure, I can't do this and do that. It's looking at it as, right, what did I learn from that experience, that I remember that in the years to come, that I wouldn't do that again, that kind of stuff. So for me, the key to success was learning to deal with the downs. If you can deal with the downs, because naturally we are going into things that we already have a talent to do, right? So that's how when I coach little kids nowadays and older players, and I say to them, look, if you've been picked for county second 11s or county under 11s, 12s, whatever, you're there because you already have more talent than the average person. Okay, so you don't need to focus so much on how to gain success. What you need to be able to deal with is when things mess up, when things go against, and come back a better version of yourself. So be honest with yourself and say, right, when I've been left out, as you asked me earlier, is there things I would change in my test career that would have? And I said to you openly, I said, look, yeah, however well I played, I mean, the results are there, isn't it? 30s, 40s, couple of 50s, but wasn't able to kick on. Now, 100 changes the game, isn't it? Changes.
Right.
We could be sat here having a very different convo talking about my 110 test match
True.
career,
Right.
averaging 50. No, you just don't know. So I've always someone very honest about my performance. Sometimes too honest,
Right.
but that's what I was, and I always wanted to get the best out of my ability that I had. So I think my advice to people is to try and look at failure objectively, right, and look at it as a massive driving tool for success, rather than looking at it as this is where I'm at and this is where I'm going to stay. It's not the case. You know, you will improve if you're prepared to come back tomorrow and fight again. You know, you have
Mm-hmm.
to keep going and keep going, because things change. You know, like as I said to you, I spent 4 years having done nothing wrong. Right? I
Right.
was dropped to play a second spinner in Bangladesh, remember, right? Which was the right decision. That's what you should be doing in Bangladesh. But so I was left out really for selection issues, and so I did nothing wrong. But then never played another Test match for 4 years. So it would be very easy in that time to just, you know, not try, not really give too much towards, you know, bettering myself and just basically playing county cricket. But I always, as I say, even to enhance my county record and my reputation, I still trained at a level way above my talent.
Right.
So it's trying to find, I'd say, rather than getting despondent in failure, look for those challenges. You know, look for those challenges out of the failures. You know, like those are the things to focus on. You know, those are the things that help take you that next notch.
Right. Yeah. And uh, towards the end of your career, can you tell us about the events that transpired that led to the end of your career? I think it was May 2018, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
so what
Yeah,
happened there, and do you think that you had more left in you to play a little longer?
yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, the situation was very straightforward. I towards the end of 2017, Hampshire just basically left me out in the cold in terms of whether I had a career there or not, and that's on the back of going through cancer. So I was a bit disappointed with how they handled that. So I felt, look, it was time for a new challenge. I've been there 11 years. I'd achieved a lot,
Mm-hmm.
won a lot of things. I'd always had aspirations to be a captain as well, which I was never going to get the chance to at Hampshire. Again, just not being that yes man in the system, and sometimes coming out with stuff that was constructive, but people don't want to hear constructive, so that's fine. So Leicester made an approach, and Wasim Khan, who's now I believe he's now some sort of director in the Pakistan Cricket Board, which I find unbelievable, but here you go. So yeah, so he asked me for a meeting with the then coach Pierre de Bruyne, and yeah, he sat me down. It was a lovely meeting. He came with all his pie charts and bar charts and everything, telling me about he wants to restructure Leicester cricket. Leicester had been struggling for years and years and years at the time. So he wanted someone of my sort of experience to really come in and galvanise, but restructure the whole thing, and hopefully we start building, you know, for a brighter future, which, yeah, excited me. I felt that was a project that, yeah, I can get my teeth into. It's a nice way to go out, in essence, you
Mm-hmm.
know, go out leaving the game in a better place. And actually, probably guys at Leicester could probably benefit more from my experiences than what was going on at Hampshire, where I'm not even involved really. So yeah, so I took it on. I said, yeah, that's fine. I'm more than happy to sign. And to be honest, even from early on, from the time I gave a preliminary answer whether I would sign or not, I saw there were problems, and that probably should have been my red flag to say, do you know what, I'm not signing. Because the very next week the coach was sacked.
Okay.
Right, so we sat down and had this great meeting for 2 hours with Wasim Khan. And you, as I tell the story, you'll start to see the link between me and Wasim Khan. He gave me this great speech about restructuring, along with Pierre de Bruyne. And I quite like Pierre de Bruyne. I didn't really know him. We seemed to be on a very good wavelength. I played a couple of games on loan, and Pierre was very nice to me. He was very, very welcoming, very accommodating, and we had some great chats. And I think even he himself believed he would be part of this restructuring. As it turned out, he was jettisoned the very, very next week, or within another 2 weeks. And Wazim hid that for me.
Okay.
All right. So he told me after the event that, yeah, they've let him go and this and that. The players didn't get on with him and this and this. And there was a lot of infighting with him and the then current captain, Mark Cosgrove, and stuff like that. So for me, that should have been the red flag to say, look, Carbs, you know what, stay away from this.
Mm-hmm.
Right? This isn't your fight. But as I said, I'm never one to back down from a challenge. I'll always back myself in those situations that, look, okay, well, I can't do anything. I felt sad for Pierre because, as I said, in the short 2 or 3 weeks I got to know him, I can't fault him as a person. He was a lovely guy. We still talk now. You know, I wish him well in his new career at Namibia. And, you know, I've got nothing but nice things to say about him as a person. But then I rolled the story on. I took the captaincy on full time in, I think it was November, and they hadn't really told Mark Cosgrove anything. So you can see now he got whiff of it, wasn't too happy. And again, that was on Wazim Khan's head. Yeah, that was on Wazim Khan's head. He should have handled that better, right? So you can see, again, it was another thing that, although I'm telling these people, look, honesty is the key. If we're going to start rebuilding, let's rebuild things on a
and good communication, basically.
100%, man. Right? Let's just throw whatever's happened in the bin. If we're going to start restructuring, you don't build a house on shaky foundations for me, right? And one of those things is trust and communication, like you rightly said. So that wasn't handled very well. So I had to spend more time and energy now, you know, having a chat with Cozzy and just saying, look, mate, it wasn't me who had any influence. I've just taken on the captaincy, blah, blah, blah.
Did he believe you, though?
I don't know. I mean, look, I credit Cozzy. I can't fault him. For the time I was captain, he didn't show me any bad face. He was more than helpful on the pitch. We had some chats. I don't want to delve into it, but I mean, we had some chats, and to my knowledge, he was very much on board with where I wanted to take the team. So I can't fault him for that. Moving the story on, Paul Nixon now was made coach, which wasn't a great surprise to me because, I mean, I was asked who I wanted to have as coach, and Paul Nixon wasn't on my radar, I'll be honest. But I understand that in terms of Leicester circles, he played there. He played most of his career there. He won stuff there. So he was the people's choice. So, okay, fine. And look, at that time, I got on well with Nixon. I respected him as a player. So we had no issues. We had our first meetings as captain and coach. And, you know, I went there with my meeting. I know what I wanted to achieve. So I said, right, look, first of all, we got to get these guys galvanized and training and prepared well, right? So we got to prepare like we've never prepared before, because I think people were expecting, this will be another Leicester, you know what show, right? And I wasn't prepared for that. I'm a very proud man, and when I take the cricket field, look, if you're going to beat me, you're going to beat me because you brought your absolute best. Right. Because I'm always going to bring my best, and I wanted to instill that in my players. Is that at no stage do we take a backward step through not being prepared and not being ready. All right. So a lot of things I had to change, you know, getting these guys to understand what professional cricket's about, and life lessons like the respect for the team, like being on time, for example. You know, if we're getting ready to train at 9 o'clock, the first ball is going down at 9 o'clock, right? You're not just turning in the car park at 9 o'clock, then looking for your spikes and your equipment to then stroll out there at 2 and 3 minutes past, too late. All right. So I had to instill some discipline, even amongst the senior players, which was a bit disappointing, but hey ho, right? Because like as I said, people had no idea how fractured this system was. So yeah, little bit over time and slowly but surely, I was getting through to the boys, and we started to, to train well. We started to look like a cricket team. I think over time, the 6 months I was there, Paul Nixon had some very good ideas, and he also has some very left wing out there ideas that I personally didn't feel were necessary. And certain people he wanted to bring in the setup were not good fit for what we were trying to build. And I think if you put that to any other county captain out there, they would have told you the same thing. You build a team based on good people, right? You don't need to go, it's stating the obvious. Young people need good leaders, right? Respected leaders. So why we're going in the market looking for people who already had shady past in the game, had been done for match fixing and drug abuse and certain other things. These are the people Paul Nixon wanted to bring in the team, and I wasn't having a bar of it. And I think because I was man enough to stand up to him and push back on a lot of these ideology, rather than Paul Nixon be a man about it and say, look, Carbs, I don't like the fact that you're not going along, you're not basically towing the party line and doing what I say. He just basically cloak and dagger made a play for my job. So, look, Leicester, goes without saying, I wasn't expecting miracles when I took over this team. But, as I said, things take time to build, right? You're not from a few chats and a few meetings, you're suddenly going to turn 10 years of despair around in one season. But certainly amongst the supporters, amongst people at the club, people started to notice a change. I mean, when was the last time Leicester saw themselves fourth in the table? They hadn't seen that. They didn't win a game the year before I joined. They didn't win a game, right? And in 6 short months, I won them 2 games, and we were fourth in the championship, right? So that's massive. When you think of where we were looking up at everybody else at the foot of the Division 2 the year before, and I've managed to come there in a few short months and got this team playing better cricket, understanding their role within a cricket team. You are I said to some of them, especially the older lot, I said, you're some kid's hero, mate, right? So understand your responsibilities, right? There was some tough conversations I had to have with some people, and some of them were friends. But I said, look, I'm captain. I'm responsible ultimately for what goes on the pitch. So if you're with me, you're with me. If not, see you later. And credit to the guys, as I said, guys bought in. I can't fault the boys, right? I mean, at the end, I don't know if there were some players who, I don't know, went behind my back and complained to Nixon. I don't know. I can't say that off with any surety, so I'll stay away from that. But I know the large majority of this was Nixon, right? Because he's a coward, right? And he wouldn't have that face-to-face conversation with me and say what his real problem is with me.
Stood against these ideas, like the way you said that you were not going to have any of it. Was there no one else in management who also took the stand and said, sorry, we can't do this?
Yeah, well, the other coaches did, but this is the thing, and this is what disappoints me with professional cricket, and to a large degree is why after retiring, for a good few months, I wanted nothing to do with cricket, anything to do with cricket, even talking about cricket. I didn't even watch cricket. I was that disgusted with the system altogether. Because there's a lot of people who sit there, know things are not right, or something's been, or decisions are being made, but they will never stand up and fight and fight their corner, right? Whereas people like me, as I said, I just come out and said, look, Nixon, okay, but if you're telling me that I have to be happy with what goes on the pitch, that I have the final say, then I'm telling you now, I don't agree with that.
Right.
So I'd rather not. Right. So right. I'll give him that respect as my coach and say, look, okay, you want to go this direction. Personally, I don't think that's the right. I think we're good where we are now. We just need to look to sign better people, or if we're going to make a change, then I'd rather than signing him, I'd rather give it to a youngster and try and bring up a youngster, right? Who wants to play, who's hungry, these kind of things. As I say, rather than being a man, he went about it in a very cloak and dagger fashion, and started to fabricate all this stuff about me. And some of the reasons, for legal reasons, I can't go into the absolute reason, but some of it was just laughable. It was just nothing short of laughable, right? I'll say that, right? It was laughable, because this thing almost went to court, right? I was thinking about suing them, and the only reason I pulled out of it is really because I thought, you know what, this is like the LAPD investigating the LAPD, right? No one in cricket, me, my lawyer, my agent, we emailed people at the highest of the ECB, right? So you're talking now CEOs and COOs of the establishment, right? And to this day, no one has responded to those emails. I'm a 20-year professional, right? I played cricket at all levels for my country. ODIs, test matches, T20. I've been 20-year professional ambassador for the domestic game.
Mm-hmm.
And I said it out loud. I said, if I was Alistair Cook, Ben Stokes, any one of those guys, I'm pretty sure I wouldn't be left in a situation like this where no one wants to fight my case and get me back into play.
Yeah, it's sad because someone like you who's fought and come back every time should have actually been endorsed more. You should have been like an ambassador and a role model for a future generation of England cricket as well. So it's
like it was just for me. It just showed that even our PCA, our union, our supposed union that fight for the players, they did nothing. They sat back because all they're worrying about is their future relationships with Nixon and Leicester, being able to get their free lunch when they turn up at games and that kind of stuff, right? Whereas for me, you're talking about someone's career, man. This was 20 years of work that I lost in basically one foul swoop because of some narcissistic idiot.
Right.
So, yeah, it was a very sad way, when I look back. I know no one has the divine right to have a glowing exit from the game, right? I'm not that away in the theories to think that I wanted to walk under a tunnel of bats or anything like that. I came in the game quietly. I'm more than happy to leave quietly, but I'm also a man of principle. Do you understand? Right? And I always stand by my principles. As long as I have facts and reasons, I always stand by my principles. And this is why I know professional cricket could not handle someone like me in the system too long, because come what may, I'm not scared of a name. I'm not scared of what you've done or who you think you are. If I believe in my principle, I will tell you to your face, live and direct, the end.
Right.
And as proven, I was the one left out of my career. So yeah, it wasn't the way I envisioned that I'd be ending my career. I was hoping that, we could at least, win some stuff, maybe even win one trophy perhaps, or it's not even about the trophies. It was just about Leicester being a better looking cricket team, looking like a professional cricket team, that I can hand that over now to a new skipper and say, right, you've now got a functioning, working cricket team. You've got players now who will go through the brick wall for you, right? There's no infighting, there's no backbiting. Everything is just connecting nicely.
Right. Yeah, it's sad to hear that, but you've had we can call it a successful career.
Remember, I'm retired. Remember one thing, right? I'm retired. I'm not dead. Right? Life goes on. There's a bigger life past cricket.
Right. So, it's probably very disappointing when you've been in that, like you said, 20 years in the system, and like you said, you didn't want to have anything to do with it towards the end. Obviously. So then how did coaching come along? Was it like the natural progression, or how did you think of getting back into this, even though you were not treated in the best way, if I put it in that way?
Well, I suppose the simple answer is Alan Blackford, my agent, is you know, he's not just my agent, he's family. You know, we've been on this amazing journey since '98 together. Still now we work together, and I think after things finished with Leicester, as I said to you, I wanted nothing to do with cricket really. I didn't even watch cricket. It took me a long time to even sit down and watch a ball. I would go off into the city. I was learning to be a financial trader, which I still do now. And really was just looking at doing stuff completely away from the sport. I completely turned my back on the sport. I put all my kit in a skip and put it on the bonfire. I just wanted nothing to do with the sport anymore. I lost complete faith in the people running it, the game, just the general structure. So how did coaching come about? If it wasn't, I'll be honest with you, if it wasn't for Alan, I wouldn't be sitting here coaching. I think Alan, as he's always done, he's always seen someone in like myself who has a wealth of knowledge and a good way of putting it across to people so they understand. And it was, you know, it was a very simple conversation. He said to me, look, Kaz, I know how you feel towards it. Look, there's a couple of kids that I know at the club that he coaches at that would love to have your experience. You know, just come and have impromptu chats with them. Nothing serious. Just sit down. It'll be literally 4 or 5 kids. They just want to, you know, ask you some questions on batting and playing at the highest level. I said, look, okay, look, you can't deny a kid,
Right.
you know, whatever you're feeling in here towards something. I mean, when a kid's coming to you, you can't tell them, nah, I'm not talking to you, right? So you got to, you know, and by that stage, it'd been 6 or 7 months where I couldn't even tell you who was playing, who was. I couldn't tell you anything about.
Okay, that bad.
But I was like I literally just severed myself from the game, and when I went to London to meet these kids and their parents, and I just sat down with them and said, look, yeah, all right, feel free, ask what you want. And to see their faces, you know, they were sort of like, oh my God, Michael Carberry's walked in, you know, the excitement. I was like, wow, like they actually know who I am. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, and, you know, they're asking me, you know, how did you cope with this and do with that? And, you know, and
Right.
you know, because it's what, you know, it's what I've done for 20 years. I mean, it's not difficult. And I always believe that knowledge is there to be shared and aired, you know. There's no point me hoarding what I know.
True.
For what, you know what I mean? So yeah, it was great conversations we had, and then the club, Dulwich, said to me, look, we'd love you to come down and work with some of our teams. We've got some, you know, 650 kids there, from sort of under 11 right away to senior cricket, and we've got, you know, a growing women's department as well. So, you know, I've come and do some work with the boys and girls down there. So I did it over the summer while I was looking for trading jobs. And so it was, you know, it was quite nice because trading obviously gives you the flexibility to be able to do other things. And it just really stemmed from there. I started working with some of the youth teams and worked with some of the men's 11, the first 11, the women's teams, the under 15 girls, under 13 girls as well. And yeah, we had some great fun over the summer. I think the kids, you know, the response from the kids was amazing. You know, because I don't think a lot of them have had before, you know, a current profession, you know, someone who's just current, you know, not that long out of the game, coach them and stuff and show them the real nuts and bolts of cricket. And it's, like I said, it's also, for my aspect, it's nice to give back as well. You know, it's nice to be able to remember what it was like yourself as that 9-year-old learning the game, someone teaching you the fundamentals, to now be in a position where even in retirement, even though things didn't end very well, and you know, people still they remember your name, respect what you did, and they still want you to come and give your knowledge and experience. So that was it for me. Now it kind of turned it that's why I just call it the pointless end of my career. You know, the stuff with Leicester, because I think, well, look, the majority of people who talk about me now, who ask to interview me now, like yourself, obviously there must have been a lot more good stuff to talk about than the achievements that I've managed to make in my life, in my career.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? So those are the things that kind of pull you back to this game. You never really leave this game, you know, I believe.
I mean, I think that's a good decision to come back, because I mean, there's always a way that you can like be bitter about it and complain about it, but then giving back is obviously the
Well,
100 times better.
yeah, yeah, no, you know, there's no future in, for me anyway, in moving forward in my life. You know, I'm 40 in a matter of months. You know, what do I gain by looking back, being bitter on what happened those last 6 months of my career? I
Right.
gain nothing from that. This is negative. It's just a load of negative energy for me.
Hmm.
I'm always been a person in my life to look forward, and I encourage people I coach to do the same. You know, there'll always be negativity, man. You just got to turn it into positivity.
Like you said, you're turning 40 right now. So, since you've just begun coaching not too long back, do you see yourself being a part of this system as years go by, and probably maybe 5-10 years down the line, being a part of the bigger system, and probably even bringing out a few changes in the system that you would have wanted to do during your playing days? Do you think that that's a possibility?
Um, I don't know really. I think that's sometimes a question for the establishment, whether they can handle someone like myself who's not
Right.
prepared to who's not prepared to just go along with everything that's put to me. You know, I do ask questions. I do call a spade a spade.
Mm-hmm.
Um, is whether the establishment are open enough to want someone like that in their system who's prepared to challenge and ask questions, based on a lot of knowledge. Remember, you know. So I don't think you could ever say no. I mean, look, things change. You don't know what opportunities come up. I mean, there's in a short time I've been coaching. I mean, obviously before lockdown there was opportunities for me to even go and coach in India and Canada and various other places, Middle East,
Right.
and that's just people seeing me doing my day-to-day coaching in London. So, but again, it's on the basis of what I've done in my career and the things that I've seen and gone through. So I don't think you could have, I'll say you never really leave this game. I don't believe, you know,
Right.
in any capacity. You know,
Right.
it's like a magnet. It just, as you try
Pulls
to
you
leave
back.
it, just pulls you back in.
Right.
And rightly so, rightly so. Look, it wasn't just my job. It was a life ambition. Remember, you know. So you never leave it.
True. And uh, yeah, so any career goal that you felt went unaccomplished? Any particular goal that you had that you really wanted to? Obviously, there would have been quite a few goals, like maybe, like you said, 100 test matches, a few centuries, but one goal that you would have really wanted to accomplish.
Um, well, I mean, I suppose the obvious one, I would have loved the Test 100. Wasn't quite meant to be. Probably a few more Test matches. Yeah, I would have liked to play a lot more Test matches. I think I would have liked to be an active playing member of someone that won our first class competition in Div 1.
Mm.
I wasn't quite able. I mean, I achieved it with Surrey, but I was a young player on the staff and was really more a role player on the staff at that time. You know, I was coming in when the big boys went off to play for England and stuff. So, you know, really having being a full CAT member and going on and winning, winning the Division 1 title was probably the one thing that I look back on and think, yeah, slight disappointment that
Would have been.
we weren't able to. Yeah, we weren't able to do it. Again, that's another story about teams just not wanting to look forward. But certainly it was always a goal of mine to be an active player member and win. Because for me, that was the real test of cricket, was to win the first class competition. I mean, yes, won 2020s. Yes, went abroad and won 2020 comps. Have won domestic one-day titles here. All that good stuff. But for me, winning Division 1, you are the best team. That's it. You have been the best team over a long period of time. It's a truer test of your team and squad and where your club is heading. So we weren't able to do that. But yeah, other than that, I mean, most things I set out to do as a kid, when I took out the game, I achieved. You know, I said I wanted to play professional. I wanted to be a cricketer as a kid professionally, and I did it. I said when I became professional, I wanted to play for England. I did it. I wanted to play all forms for England. I did it.
Right.
You know, I scored first class hundreds. I've done that. I've been a cap. I wanted to get capped when I first went on into professional cricket. I did that. Yeah, you know, although things happen slowly, they happen. The main thing is they happened. You know, so I was pleased that I was able. I stuck it out and waited for those things to happen.
Just one more question about your career in art. So is this something that I mean began as a hobby and it's turned into a somewhat a side career? Tell us about this. How did this start, and where has it gone to? Where is it going to go?
Yeah, again, you know, just I suppose truly blessed, I guess. You know, when you're sitting there going through illness, as I was in 2016, a lot of uncertainty, a lot of, yeah, you know, here we go again. You know, I've been knocked down, the illness, you know, I try and come back. And I guess you're looking for things to kind of keep that positivity around you. So for me, rather than, you know, on the comeback, once you've done your rehab for the day, you know, by sometimes 9-10 o'clock in the morning, that's it. What do you do other than sit on your sofa and just have time to sort of chew on what's gone on? So sketching was always something I did at school. You know, I was always decent at art at school. Nothing on the level I am now, but you know, I could always draw to a decent level. And I mean, until that point, I hadn't picked up a pencil since I left school. You're talking now, best part of 20 years. So, so I just started through social media. Really, I suppose I just stumbled on some very realistic looking pencil drawing. I've always been interested in pencil art, and I mean, some of the stuff I see people like doing, I was just like, you know, there's that pencil. Wow, like, you know. But I didn't also realize that, you know, there's now a lot of stuff on YouTube that can teach you how to bet these techniques as well. And I just used to sit and watch, and so I thought, oh, you know, I can have a go at that. So I just bought a pencil, or bought a pack of pencils and some paper, and started to sketch, and they show you how to lay it out, and you know, so it looks a little bit more professional. And I just go when I could walk around after surgery. You know, I couldn't drive for a few weeks, so I could just sort of take short walks, and I'll go down to my local coffee shop and just sit there and sketch people. And I think people in passing will sort of, you know, try and look over your shoulder to see what you're doing, and they go, "Oh my God, that's amazing! Did you draw that?" I said, "Yeah." "Oh, do you draw it professionally?" I said, "Well, not really. I just enjoy sketching." So I started to get like commissions through, you know, people will send me pictures of their family member to draw, their, you know, whatever, their kids, their dog, whatever. And it just grew from there. So when I retired, I'm great friends with Phil Simmons, the West Indies coach. And he invited me over for dinner one evening, and there were some friends of his who I got talking to at the dinner table who had a gallery in their family. And I'd drawn Phil Simmons' mother-in-law, who sadly is not too well. And they saw the picture and they thought it was a photograph. So he was going, "Oh yeah, it's a nice photograph." He said, No, Carbs drew that." And the guy he like took off his shades, and he was like, "What? That's a photo." He said, No, it's a pencil drawing. He goes, "Man, you should be in a gallery." So I went, "Yeah, right, whatever." You know, as you do, you know, you just turn up in a London gallery. He said, No, we have one in our family. His cousin ran it. So I went, "Okay." He said, "Yeah, look, I'll speak to him, come down, have a meeting, see what's what." So again, you know, you know what they say, it seems too good to be true. It usually is. So yeah, but no, this guy Robert, he spoke to his cousin Wendell, who runs a great little gallery in South Kensington, and me and Alan went along. He called me back on the Monday. He said, "Yeah, look, I've spoken to Wendell. He's ready to go when you are." And I was like, I wasn't prepared for this. So I rang Alan. I said, mate, listen, we got to talk. I'm coming to London. And I told Alan, and Alan was just blown away. He's like, "Mate, this could be massive."
Right.
So we had some chats with Wendell. And I mean, now we're stepping in a completely new world. I mean, Alan's been a fantastic, for me, I'm going to be biased and say, look, he's the best cricket agent a bloke could ever have. And, the fact that he's still working for me, even though I'm not actively playing.
And you do the same with art.
Yeah. So I've made him the creme de la creme of agents. But yeah, we sat down, we had some great meetings. And then it was just right. Okay. At that stage, I probably had 5 or 6 drawings that were of decent quality. So I had to now, between sort of October or November and the June of 2019, I had to get drawing away to try and have enough body of work to be able to exhibit. So luckily we had a few cricket themes around. So we had the World Cup obviously last summer, and we had the Ashes. So we figured, look, we'll time the art shows around that time, because people will be around the Oval and Lords and those kind of things. And yeah, it just, surprisingly to me, it just went like that. People from all walks of life were walking in. You had some people just walk in from the street to have a look. I had genuine cricket fans who were in the area come and see it, and repost it, and or come to the evenings we had, and it just took off. It was great fun. I mean, it was hard work, obviously, in the build up and marketing and really driving it and stuff, but it was definitely worth it. I mean, it certainly got the exposure to let people know that, yeah, look, okay, I'm not actively playing anymore. As I said, I'm only retired. I'm not dead, people. I'm still here. But this is, but it gives people, I suppose, a real life insight as to, we all finish playing. That's what we do. We come as young men, we leave as not as younger men. But
not
life
old.
doesn't end. Yeah, but life doesn't end. We're just normal people, and we then now have to go and hunt and search opportunities like any other person out there.
Right. And are you still doing it, or is coaching your main focus right now?
Yeah, I still draw. I still from time to time I still get loads of commissions from people on social media. It's been great for me to reach out to people and say, look, this is what I do. Is anyone interested? And yeah, I've now done about 20 odd commissions for various people. Some are even abroad. Some people doing one in Canada at the moment for a lady in Canada. So that's great. So it's great that it's reaching out to so many people. But I would say, what I'm looking at mainly is getting into my trading. So I'm trading some funds for a company in London. So that's it's hard work at the moment with all the uncertainty around. But obviously trying my best. Yeah, trying my best in the financial markets, and that's again, it's another door, another chapter. It's the thing when you retire. It's, as I see it, and I think that's why certain people struggle for a couple of years. It's obviously hard to find a job or something where you get the same buzz as you playing cricket. And I didn't really know much about trading. I'd heard about it, but I never really knew much about it even. And the more and more I got into it, is the more I found that, this is me, like I can work for myself. I'm responsible for my own decisions. I don't have to, take orders or, yes, there's certain rules you have to play by. There's certain things you have to learn. There's a lot of learning involved, more than meets the eye. But every time you turn on your screens and open your markets up for the day, you just don't know what's going to happen. And it's what makes you keep coming back all the time.
And no politics happening here.
And I'm not. Listen, I'll make a rubbish politician. I've always said that. I'm not a politics person. Even it's just not how I'm built. So I need politics on certain fronts for trading, but it's just, life's all good, man. It's you're just trying your best to try and make things happen. And like I said, if it doesn't work, then there's always other fields you can go into as well.
Right. I think I've covered everything. I just have like 5 to 6 rapid fire kind of questions. So whatever, one word, couple of words, whatever comes to your mind. So name one or more than one cricketing heroes or idols that you had growing up?
Well, I think Viv would be my first cricket hero. I think Brian Lara was another one, and I think Ricky Ponting were sort of the guys that I really sort of watched.
Right. Favorite innings of your career? I'm guessing it's the triple hundred, but I'm gonna ask you anyway.
Favorite? No, actually, it's not. It's not my favorite innings. No, I think it's my first championship 100 that I made. My first. So what I would. It's not to disrespect my opponents, but when you score university hundreds, back then it wasn't viewed as real hundreds. So the fact that when I got my first county hundred, so it was against I think Gloucester, I believe. I think it was at Gloucester in a run chase, and I got 110 or something, not out, and really came out and played well. So yeah, that was my. I think you always remember your first class 100.
Right. And the toughest bowler you faced in your career?
No. There's been loads. There was a fella, might not be known to your audience, but it was a fella at Lancashire called Glenn Chappell, who he would be one that I would put up there. I had great battles with Zaire Khan as well. Great bowler, very skillful. Unfortunately, I got Zaire probably at more the back end of his career, where he wasn't as quick, but he was very, very skillful, very, very skillful bowler. I mean, James Anderson be another one I've had great battles with.
He's still going.
Graham Onion. Yeah, still going. Great bowler. Stuart Broads. I've had some good tussles with him over the years. Dale Steyn. I mean, you name it, I've faced them, man. Yeah, I mean, anyone running with a new ball for me is a tough opponent.
Right. and in your opinion, who would you say is the best batsman in world cricket today?
Right now.
Right now.
I think there's only one. Well, there's two for me. There's. It depends what corner of the globe you're sitting in. There's obviously Mr. Steve Smith. I think undoubtedly is one of will go down as one of the all-time greats.
Right.
And a certain Mr. Virat Kohli, who I'm a great admirer of. I think Virat will probably just shade it for me simply because of his ODI record as well.
Right.
I think so. Overall, in all formats, I think Virat for me is just a shade above Steve Smith in terms of who's the best. But yeah,
I love hearing that answer because I'm a huge Virat fan myself. So.
Oh yeah. I never. Unfortunately, we never played against one another. But I remember one of my first trips to India in 2007-08. And I think he was then under 19 captain, I think, or something like that. And I remember talking to some of the locals about who would be the next Sachin, and who do you sort of think will be the next big thing. And this boy's name Kohli came up a lot. Said he's very, very good. He's feisty, but he's a good player. He's very, very confident. And I think I watched him bat in the final, thinking he got 100 or something like that. And I said, yeah, he's definitely got something about him, and he's proved us all right. So I just love the way he goes about his life, his cricket.
That's the challenge as well.
Yeah, that real focus. That's just, he just, you can just tell he's someone who doesn't leave stones unturned. So yeah.
And your favorite ground to play cricket, most memorable or favorite?
My favourite ground. I used to love playing at Edgbaston in Birmingham. That was one of my favourite grounds of all time. I had a lot of success there over my time. Made some good scores against Warwickshire over my time. They were a top team during sort of early noughties, mid noughties. They were a very good team. Produced some very good players. But I used to love playing there. It was, obviously test ground, beautiful outfield, full value for runs. you know, if you went there certain times, it could be challenging, like you might swing around, but then once you got in, licking your lips, man, licking your lips.
Nice. Right. And during your time in the English cricket team, who would you say was your best friend or best teammate? Best friend, I would like to say, in the team.
Next question.
What's that?
Next question.
Okay.
I didn't. Unfortunately, I didn't last long enough to form that many friends.
Okay, so no one even close to that.
No, I'm saying this stuff in jest. I mean, look, yeah, look, I mean, say KP's not. I mean, we're not say around each other's house for Christmas and birthdays, but you know, he's someone that I greatly admired as a player, and obviously was a teammate at Hampshire. So we've always got along very well. Chris Tremlett would be another one on that trip. You know, me and the big lad were always close together, you know, on the tour. Even though it was quite a tough trip for everyone. You know, I spent a lot of time with Chris, and we still talk now, you know. So yeah, I mean, it was all good. It was all good.
Right. And your favorite holiday destination?
Well, I'd have to say my navel string is Barbados, so I love going back when I can. See family and friends over there, so I try and get back there when I can.
And how often do you do that?
Well, I was lucky at Hampshire. We used to go there a lot for pre-season, so we probably did that for about 7 or 8 years in running. So I was able to get back quite often. But yeah, any opportunity I can, I try and get over there. And you know, I've got a lot of good mates. My cousin Fidel Edwards is over there. Pedro Collins is my other cousin as well. So I try and go when I'm over there, see them. One of my best mates, Tino Best, is over there. So you know, I catch up with those guys when I'm over there as well. So.
Oh, I had no idea that that they were your cousins actually.
Yeah. We're cousins. Yeah. We met on the cricket field. We didn't actually know we were cousins. We had to.
Are you serious?
We had to do some research and find. And it then came to light that we're I think second cousins or something like that. So.
Wow. Wow. Nice. That's a good story. So if you were not, I mean, sorry. If you're not a cricketer, I mean, obviously now you have a few more options. You have art, you have financial trading, but during your playing days, if you were not a cricketer, what kind of an alternate career path would you have selected?
Good question. I think it would have been probably something either with the designing. So I was looking at possibly like graphic designing at school. I wanted to do architecture at one point, but the 7 years of study, man, would have killed me. So
Right.
I'm not sure I would have lasted that one out. But I think either something along the designing route, or you know, I was a keen sprinter as a kid. We used to do, you know, a bit of athletics. So might have been lining up against Mr. Bolt somewhere along the line, trying to take his title, hopefully. But it's hard to say really. It maybe even ended up a coach, perhaps. You know, maybe set up my own academy or something like that, or hopefully within the, you know, a batting coach within the structure of some sort. So hard to say. But no doubt it would have been something. Cricket would have been somewhere along the line, because I obviously played it as a kid.
Right. And like my last question: how much are you looking forward to getting out of this lockdown and things going back to normal?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Our government here in England, to be honest, has left everyone in just complete confusion as to what we're actually allowed to do versus what we're not allowed to do.
Right.
There are movements. I've been told that in terms of coaching, we're allowed to go back to do one-to-one stuff as long as it's at distance and things like that. But for me, look, having had health issues in the past, I'm very much on that critical health list. And first of all, for me, it needs to be safe. Now, it's all good pushing people out there to go, yeah, it's fine to do this, but do it at a distance. But look, it needs to be safe. And at the moment, we're not even close to a cure, right? We're just trying, as a global society, we're just trying to cut this thing off at the pass and build some knowledge on it and some data, and hopefully in a few months to a year's time, we have a working vaccine.
Right.
So I understand people's frustration. I understand it's been a tough 2 and a bit months, certainly over here, where people have been cooped up indoors and, you know, kids are driving them mad. I get all that, but, you know, you've got to keep that bigger perspective and think, well, look, it's not safe at the moment. You are in the safest place you can be, which is the confines of your house. And so for the time being, it's just trying to stay present. It is hard. Look, I live on my own. You know, I don't live with anyone, so I live on my own. Waking up day to day for the last 2 months with only yourself to talk to it can be difficult. But you know, I think trying to have some structure to the day. So, you know, obviously with my training, it helps. I can get up, and it's actually a job for me, so I can work from home. I try and keep in shape, you know, try to do some exercise and almost encourage people to do it as well. You know, move around, you know, don't just sit there on Xboxes and stuff all day and vegetating on the sofa.
Yeah, because that's a health issue as well, right? If you're just
yeah, for sure. But then, you know what, look, we're human at the end of the day. And I think the key for me is sort of, recognizing that you will have days where you feel a little bit flatter than you know. We'll have weeks where you will feel a bit more up than down, and I think that's natural, and I think it's okay to have those weeks. You know, don't feel like it's wrong to sit on the sofa and feel a little bit flat about things. It's okay. The key to it is still keeping that broader perspective and just say to yourself, look, it's just not safe at the moment. And until it is, you know, that's got to be it's got to be paramount in everyone's mind at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, I have some family in England, in London, in Liverpool, in Reading, and I know that it's not safe. So, you know, and I've also heard that England is going to resume sporting action, I believe, early next month. So
yeah, well, if there's talk of it, June the 1st, things might start like restaurants and. But look, again, look, it's up to people. Look, I can't speak for everybody. Look, for me, as I say, I can only be responsible for the decisions I make and what's safe for me in my life. And until I know we're closer to a cure, I wouldn't feel comfortable being in even a restaurant of 50 people. Right. Why take that risk?
And I think that's just common sense.
Yeah, it's just, why take that risk? Until you know there's a cure out there. Look, we all need money. I get it. We all need to pay bills. I get it. But, you know, you're no good to anyone dead, as far as I'm concerned. And this thing is wiping people out. It's not just, you know, your average common cold here. You know, it is wiping people out. You know, so I just urge people to keep that broader perspective.
Right. Thank you so much. I think I've covered everything. I've taken a lot of your time as well. Thanks a lot. And it's actually a great pleasure to be speaking to you. And I wish you all the best for everything that you will be doing in your future. Thanks a lot. Stay safe.
No, thank you. Thank you for having me on the show.
Thank you.
All right, you take care. All right.
You too. You too. Cheers. Bye-bye.